Good evening, friends. I'm sorry. Good morning, friends. My name is Manikandan, the founder of Change Agents Foundation. We've been doing the programs every week during the evenings, and therefore I got used to the habituated to saying good evening. And yes, that is what we are going to talk about today. The Power of Habits, otherwise called the Atomic Habits, a book published in 2018 by James Clear. Let me tell you about the foundation first. Change Agents Foundation is an online forum for building awareness around health, wealth, relationships, and career. We've been doing a plethora of programs right from the beginning. We initiated this on the 20th of June 2020, and it's been 99 days. And tomorrow we are entering into the 100th day of Change Agents. I'm talking about the day, from the day it has been established, and it's been a fantastic journey. We did a program, we did over 15 programs, and we interviewed a lot of NGOs. With the first series, we had a lot of doctors and HR professionals talking on various the topics that I said: health, wealth, careers, and relationships. In the second series, we coupled it with a lot of NGOs. We really listened to a lot of NGOs and their stories. In the third series, I wanted to come up with an idea of books. Books are integral part of life, and we all know that the kind of benefits reading books offers. And in spite of all that, no, we do not read books quite often because of no everyday routines that we have. We get caught up in the work that we miss out on reading good books. There are a lot of good books that are in the market, and this is an attempt to bring such wonderful books to you. This is an attempt to induce the thought of reading books and enhancing your life, and that this is an attempt, and I hope you will encourage and appreciate this attempt. Before we start, this is the day which is very important. We express our heartfelt condolences. I'm sure that you're all in anguish and sorrow because of the demise of the legendary singer, and I think it has left the entire world saddened. Yeah, coming back to this session today, we have a very special guest today, Mr. Michael Rajesh. Michael Rajesh is a seasoned HR professional with over 25 years of experience. He has represented diverse industries like manufacturing, retail, banking, KPO, and telecom. He is also from the Madras School of Social Work. He has specialized in PMIR, and he has worked for brands like HSBC, RPG, Zenta, Aircel, and currently he is heading leadership, learning, and change for Dalmia Cement Bharat Limited. In his current role, he has been facilitating learning and development and behavioral training for South. He is responsible for leading leadership development and learning initiatives, including all categories of employees from GETs and so on and so forth. So over to you, Michael. A very good morning. I would like to invite you. Good morning, Michael,
Good
sir.
morning. Morning.
Good to have you with us.
Yeah.
So I was giving a brief introduction about habits. In fact,
Yeah.
I missed saying good morning, and I was saying good evening. I just said it is habituated. I got habituated to it. So what is the role of habits? What is the power of habits in your life, in a person's life? How does it change, or how does it helps people to be very successful in life? I would like to hear more about the book Atomic Habits. In fact, I have not read that book, and I only know that that book was established or published in 2018. Over to you, and I'm really looking forward to listen to you about the books.
Wonderful, Moni. Thanks for the opportunity. So, Moni, am I audible? Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, you're audible.
We started with, as you rightly pointed out, habits. And it was, nice way to start when you said instead of good morning is good afternoon, good evening. So, it is actually, practice. And when I said good afternoon, it's almost closing to lunch, and it's a practice that we say good afternoon. So that's the way habits are. Habits are nothing much. It's just a routine behavior, regularly in nature, and which we do it automatically without even thinking too much about it. It's as good as getting up the early morning, and we're used to brush our teeth in the early morning. We are used to it, and There are very many, who have certain practice like praying to God, looking up to God, having the prayers, chanted. And there are a few who, do a lot of things, as a habit. So that's a routine practice, which is done automatically without thinking much, is called as a habit. And we are addicted to habits. So I can say it now very clearly. Everyone is addicted to habits. The habits could be something which we do unnoticed, and until somebody points out, we do not know whether it's a habit or not. And nothing could be defined as a good habit or a bad habit, or it's more of how we perceive it. Culturally, in Indian context, certain things are noted as a bad practice or bad habits. But in certain cultures, it is even within India, certain things are seen as an accepted practice or accepted behavior. So I'm not here to say which is good or bad. I'm here to say, according to me, what is could be a better practice or good habits, according to me. And I'll re-emphasize is according to my way of seeing life and is my understanding of things, which I would largely say accepts to most of us who are around the culture that we live around. So that's the way it's going to be. So and I'm sure now all of us, a few of us could have heard about the Atomic Habits and James Clear. It's an amazing book. I read it sometime before, and since I'm doing this, I had to re-emphasize it again. And I have a habit or a practice from early days in college where I use some Q codes or Q nodes or some paper we call locally the bit. We are used to it. I still continue the practice of the habit of using a bit when I speak so that I do not miss out something good. So pardon me if I'm going to take some papers to read and refer to it. So going to where we start, uh, going back to habits, the book speaks primarily about how the author encountered the impact of habits. The book starts with a little back history where the author James is hit by a baseball bat. He breaks his the nose brim of the nose, and he gets impacted and he's hospitalized. And since he's hospitalized, he has nothing else to do but only to be in the hospital. And because of being in hospital, he loses the opportunity of playing in basketball, baseball, which was he was very keen to play, but he wasn't able to play. So when in his culture where everyone were playing the baseball, he wasn't to play. So it took some time for me to hit back to the ground. And when he comes back to the ground, he defines and says how he was able to make small changes in his personal life, which he was able to impact and make him successful. Maybe 5 years, 7 years. In the book, he's close to say about 6, 7 years, where he's able to go back and hit back to the baseball game. So that's the way it speaks about. He speaks of four things rather. One is cue, one is craving, the three is response, and the fourth is reward. This can be understood in our own way of what is cue, what is craving, what is response, and what is reward. And trust me, all of us has this same four things used in some form of or other for our routine habits. Like when I get up in the early morning and start to work, so the thinking behind my mind is like end of the month I'd like to make me salary. Now that is could be a cue, it could be a craving, it could be a response, it could be a reward. So the salary could be a reward, the recognition as a role could be a reward, it could be a lot of things. So the four things can start from anywhere. It could be a cue, it could be a craving, or response or reward. As simple as getting up in the morning and going to work, to starting the day with brushing your teeth, or many of us could hit the gym to start a workout. And I have known very many of my friends who hit the treadmill to do a job. So it could be anything. But primarily he speaks about four things, which is cue, craving, response, and reward. That's the four things that he's going to touch about. And he speaks about how the small changes can make a huge difference, and how each one of us, you and me, can make it happen. So he goes to give a small example of 2003, where the British cycling team, how he made them, the coach called Dave Bilford, how he made the team perform and make them achieve more than 100 Olympic gold medals in the both Olympic and Paralympic, is what he gives a good example in the book. Now, when I read this, I was really amazed with those examples that given by the author in the book. And I never knew that even the small changes can impact cycling performance. He goes to say how they used to rub alcohol on the tires of the cycle to improve the speed. How he brought the surgeon to make the people, make the, the sportsmen understand the importance of washing their hands properly, taking care of them really well, so that they do not get hit by any medical ailment. He goes to say how the van were painted white within the within the van which are carrying cycle, because in the white we see the dust formation, and the dust formation, a small dust can impact the performance of the cycle. So he speaks about how small changes. Nobody can notice this can make an impact, but he proves to say in the 6 years how in the history of the Tour de France, how he was able to bring the British back to form and make them perform really well. So in 1908 to 2003, they won only one gold medal, and he goes to speak about aggregation of marginal gain. So wherein he says about how one small touch points can bring in so much of change, is what he said by that. And my friends, until I read the story of how this British cycling team won the Tour de France, I never understood rubbing alcohol on a cycle tire could increase the speed. I never knew that a kind of particular shorts that we wear could increase the speed of my traveling speed in cycle. I never knew that the importance of washing my hand in the pillow in which I sleep makes a difference for me the next day performance. And it is all proven by records, and it's proven in real-time data points how it is being done. So in chapter 1, he speaks about how many times we speak about having earth-shattering commitment that we make, like end of the year and beginning of new year. I have made commitments saying that I will walk 10 kilometers in a day without fail. There are commitments that I say that I will not touch sweet. So I try to make a lot of big commitments. I'm sure, like me, most of us will try doing the same thing, saying that now I will shed 10 kgs. I will earn, say, 1 million in one, maybe 10 lakhs in 1 year. I will save 1 year. But it stands for only one day. Second day, we'll try doing it. Third day, we try doing it. But eventually, in 30th day, but 30th of January, 31st of January, the number of people who go to the gym and work out will be far and few. It is always said, 1 week, my friend runs the gym, he always says, now, Machan, the first 1 month, you have the gym is fully jam-packed. You get the best of collection in the beginning of the year. The new year means that now the people who run gyms, the people who are in fitness, make a lot of money, because everyone makes a commitment. The mistake is, I wouldn't say, sorry, using the word mistake, and rather the right word to use is, we try to make earth-shattering commitments at the beginning of the year and not really start. He says, don't make those kind of commitments. He says, make very simple, small movements. Like saying that, I will, as a practice, walk 10 minutes in a day. I'm sure everyone can do this. Everyone makes it. So it can be saying that I will consume, instead of 5 burfis or 5 sweets, I'll take only 1 sweet a day. It is manageable. Instead of me saying that I will not eat sweets for 30 days, it is manageable to say, in a span of 30 days, I may take maybe 2 days or 3 days is fine. So what happens is, many times we take earth-shattering commitments and earth-shattering targets is very tough to manage. So what he says is, make small changes. He says, to start with, he says, saying that I will practice yoga 5 minutes a day, every day morning. If you think every morning is not possible, so weekly, 3 days, I'll devote the first 5 minutes of the day for yoga. He says more than suffice. Weekly twice, I'll do some weight training. I'm taking example of fitness more easily, primarily because, like me, whoever are there would enjoy to experience fitness first. So, when I speak to you, I speak to myself. When I tell you, it is to myself. So I made a commitment saying that I will practice walking to the gym weekly thrice. That more than suffice. So he says, make a very small and simple beginning, is what he says. He gives an example. Imagine you're traveling. He gave an example of the US, but I'll take an example from India. Imagine you're traveling from Delhi to Chennai by flight. And imagine the fight pilot deviates the journey of travel 1 degree left or right. So if your destination travel to Chennai, imagine traveling to Delhi. If he makes 1 degree deviation, I'm sure you're going to land up in Hyderabad or somewhere else, and definitely not in Chennai. So imagine what 1 degree change can impact the flight direction of the flying. So that's what he says by saying that make 1 degree, 1%, 1% improvement in what we try. This is what it is. So he says if you're able to practice 1% improvement in a day, he says in a year you can have 37% improvement than somebody else. If I start reading 1 page a day for 365 days in a year, I will read 365 days in a year. If I make a practice it, one book, a week, and imagine if I read a book for the whole year, I've read 52 books. So I have told Mr. Money as a commitment saying that I would, as a practice, I don't want to do a book review every day. I told him I will try doing at least once in 15 days. It is manageable. I'm sure I can manage in 2 weeks, not 30 minutes of my time. It is manageable. So I've given a commitment to Mr. Money saying that I'm going to practice in a span of 1 month, 2 book reviews a month. So, my friends, what he says is make a small beginning and don't create earth-shattering commitment because those things are very difficult to manage than small practices. So, with that, I move to the next chapter. He speaks of 4 laws of the atomic habits. One is make it very obvious. The second law he speaks about is make it more attractive. The third one he says is make it more easy. The last one he says is make it more satisfying. So James refers to the 4 major things are the 4 laws of bringing to practice atomic habit. The first one, as it is, making it obvious. Second is making it more attractive. The third is making it easy, and fourth is making it satisfactory. There are a lot of examples that he has shared. I'm going to use examples in a way it's going to be more comfortable for me, and not in a way that he's using the example for himself, but I'm going to use it the way he's going to. Two small examples from my context and which you can relate a little more better. So he says, make it more obvious. So when we make it more obvious, what he's trying to say is make it more visibly seen in what you want to do. He gives an example of in a hospital where a health dietitian starts keeping water bottles in display instead of sodas. And if you go to travel internationally, in those places you have sodas and cokes and Pepsis and those kind of sodas than water bottles. People consume those a lot more than the water bottles. So what she did is she started displaying water bottles visibly to everyone, and she said, in the end of the month, there are 30% improvement in the consumption of water bottle than Pepsi, Coke, or soda, or any kind of soda that we displayed. So when you make those things visible, then what happens is automatically you try to take those things. So when we say this, what do we try? What do I mean by this for my own understanding? So we start speaking of fitness, and I'll take the same example from there. Currently, because of my work, I'm in a different location. So in my room, I've kept 2 10 kg dumbbells next to my bed. So when I get up in the early morning, before even step down to the washroom, bathroom, I see the dumbbells next to me in the bed. So when I get up in the morning, what I do is I do nothing. I just take the dumbbell and try doing 10 curls for my biceps and 10 shoulder push using the 10 kg dumbbell. And when I decided saying that I'm going to use this, the book review, I made a practice and I was noticing the difference in my life. So when I start the day, my day starts with only the 10 kg dumbbell, doing a curl up for my biceps and shoulder raise for my shoulders. And the last 1 week, I can see a very small difference. I wouldn't say that I become triceps with 16 inches or 17 inches, but I can definitely say I can see an improvement in the strength of mind. I give one more example. I have an opportunity to play shuttle in the current place where I'm there. So I've told somebody that obviously I told them I'd like to learn to play shuttle. So kindly call me in. So early morning, 6 o'clock, I get a call. Somebody calls me, says, Michael, let's get ready to play shuttle. So when I have made my choices very visible to somebody, and I started making things which is visibly displayed for me, then my practice is to go in case if I miss for some reason, today morning there's heavy rainfall, so heavy rain in where I'm looking. So I didn't, I got a little late. So even then, I started with the dump, but I didn't do the reps that I like to do it normally because I got a little late. So in my mind, I've decided when I go back to my lunch, I will definitely do the repeat which I should do, which I planned in the morning. So that's the way it is going to be for the today also. So when I say make it obvious, make those things displayed outside for you, which is visibly seen, so that you make it a practice for doing it. I've got a good friend of mine, who reads the book and practices it. He keeps the yoga mat next to him every morning. So he says, when I get up only in the yoga mat. When I get up, I stumble on the yoga mat. So that's the way it is going to be. So what happens is when you get into this repeatedly, then you can see this beautifully. He also gives one nice example of, if you start speaking of fitness from your end, you can see everyone being fit. You can start speaking of fitness to everybody. So this small example. He speaks of one more example about one of the a staff nurse who sees his father-in-law. By looking at the face, she feels he's not keeping well. But the father says, I'm very fine, I'm doing really good, all this. But she still says, no, something's not right. So they take him for a medical checkup and notice that he had some heart ailment. So he's sick. So when you start doing it repeatedly, it becomes a practice of yourself, it becomes automatic, then you make it a difference. Since she was a staff nurse, since she's seeing repeatedly people who are sick, by looking at the face, she was able to assess if somebody is fit or not fit. If you take an example of talent acquisition person, who's into recruitment, he meets so many candidates repeatedly, but over a span of time, he can make a right choice or wrong choice. A good doctor can make a good choice or wrong choice. So what becomes a habit of yours becomes so human to you. So without much of an effort, you can say what is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong. And he also goes to say, how do you improve these good habits? So what he says is start listing out what you should do. Like take the same example. When I get in the morning, I'll list, though I do it, but what he says is I don't and say, no, Michael, good morning, get up. Snooze your alarm. Check your phone. Step down the bed. Take the dumbbell. Take 10 reps of your bicep crunches. Then 10 reps for your tricep crunches. 10 reps for your shoulders. Then step down the bed, go brush your teeth. So he's saying that list out those practices of what you do for the whole day. Start doing it. After a week, see what is that you like to continue. Assume I have a practice of having an early morning coffee with high sugar. A list of saying that coffee, 2 teaspoons of sugar. Then when I list it out, when I see maybe 2 teaspoons may not be good. I'm 46. Maybe it's right time that I should look at that. Then what I will do, then I will knock it off and start writing maybe 1 spoon. If I have a practice of eating cheese and burger in the morning as a breakfast, he says list it out, saying that same thing, and then say two, sandwich with double toast or with double cheese or whatever it is. If you feel it is something not going to be right, you knock it off or alter it. So that's what he says that he calls it habit scorecard. So what you should do is list out those habits as a scorecard, like list all the 100 things, and then start scoring for yourself. You need not wait for others to score yourself. You start scoring for yourself to understand whether it is good or bad. If it is good, continue it. If it's not good, then you see how you like to alter it. So that's the way you start doing this. And he also called this as habit stacking, which means that you start stacking all your habits together. Like what he says is when you say habit stacking, he says if you want to add something to it, then add it. For example, I'll give an example which we can, when you say habit stacking, easy to relate. I have a friend of mine who prays to God before he starts the work. So what he says is, after coffee, you pray to God. When you do pray to God, list out the 1, 2, 3, 4 things as a stack the activity for yourself. So you know for sure when you pray there, and when you listen do three things, you will not miss out those things. So that's what it means with habit stacker. So you make it a habit. So today, as a habit stacker, I will say when I pray to God, saying that I will do three things, which means I will call my teacher and say, you have been very kind to me. I'll call a mentor and say, you've been a very good mentor to me. Call my dad and say, I love you, my dad. So today I will do this. But tomorrow I'll have different stacker, which means that tomorrow when I pray to God, and I will add these three things together. I will say, I will call my brother and sister who are living outside the family and tell them, how are you? I'll speak to them. So he speaks as a good practice. So make a routine and stack certain good practice to it, which you feel is right. I'm giving small examples which can be easy. Because when I speak to friends of mine, then when was the last day you spoke to dad? He says, I spoke to one week before. So when we grow older, when we start working, we miss out to call our parents, we miss out to call our brothers and sisters. And at least father and mother we call, but brother and sister, we seldom call them. We tell them, I call them during last Christmas, I wished my brother for Christmas. In my opinion, it is not a right practice. It could be even your team member. So you stack those things and say, you have a routine practice. You stack those routine practice to those things. So as I told you, these are my personal understanding learnings which I pick from them. So the next one is make it more attractive. The second law he speaks is make it more attractive. Now James speaks of a nice example about a bird trying to feed the small the chick. So he speaks of a bird I think some kind of bill which has a long beak which is a dot on the beaks. So the minute the red dot when the mother bird goes to the the nest, the small birds start picking the beak of the big mother. So when he notices that, I'm saying when I say James doesn't notice it, some other researcher has noticed this. So he notices the birds when they see a red color dot on the beak, they start hitting it, assuming it is going to provide food. So the research scientist, what he does, he makes a cardboard box with kind of beak with a red dot. He places it there. So he can see the bird knocking it again and again, assuming that that's going to feed them with food. So what he notices it, so when you make it something little attractive, so maybe he says that in the black color beak, a red color dot is more attractive because of which the bird starts pinching it so that it gets a dropping off. So he speaks about this example. What I will say as an example for myself would be make it more attractive is I will take the same example of the working out the dumbbell. So imagine I get a dumbbell which is a little more expensive one, little more attractive one. Possibly my intent to do that is a little more better than the routine old time a metal dumbbell box. Make it more attractive. Place it in a more attractive place. Maybe place a dumbbell under a light which makes it more attractive because when you get up and see it, it's like night lamp. You look at that. So that's the way I would see that as. So he goes to give a lot of small examples about how to make it more attractive. He also gives of one nice example from research about a father trying to make his daughters become good in chess. He refers to a person called Laszlo. He has got 4 daughters, and what he does is he had 3 daughters, I guess 3 or 4, I'm not too sure, I think 3 daughters, and he wanted the daughters to be good in chess. So what he does, he makes the first daughter learn chess. Subsequently, he makes everything in the house looks like chess coin or a chess board. You go to the bathroom, the tiles are like a chess. The night lamp be like another king. The shoe stand could be like a rook. The door could have a handle like a soldier. So he made the house, every aspect of the house look like a chess board or a chess coin. The food plate, the cutleries were almost imbibing or were filled with chess. So he says the first daughter played chess at 14 years. She became one of the best players. The second daughter was able to learn it far more better. The last one, the third daughter, was far more superior than the one, two, because the last one was able to pick from the elder one and the elder one, and she was able to be far more better than the other person. So when he speaks of making more attractive, so when you define this, he says, let it be displayed everywhere. Let everything be replicating what you want as an attraction. So that's what he means by that. So going back to what I'm seeing as an example for fitness, if I choose to be fit, if I wanted to be fit, if I choose to be looking at fitness as what I wanted to be, possibly, then I will start buying the best of an apple, keep it in the best of the plate in the center of the hall or a dining table, so that whenever I look at it, I feel attracted to eat an apple. When I open the fridge, I should have only fruits displayed, not Cadbury's and sweets, so that it's so attractive that I tend to eat those things. When somebody comes in, I display only those things which I want to display and be more attractive. So I start investing myself only into those things. So what he says is make it more attractive. So attractive could be anything, maybe as a cloth. So get an attractive cloth. A little more. If I use a pant like 36, then get a very, very nicely stitched, Louis Philippe with 34, and then make it as a display and say that I'm going to wear it. That's what he means by make it more attractive. So that's what he means by making it more attractive. So next one, he speaks about family playing a pivotal role in our habits. All of us know whom we interface, whom we see, whom we meet, eventually decides what we are, is what life is all about. So he also speaks about how a family plays a pivotal role in defining how our habits get formed. So I can put my own example of as a family. Now I stepped into HR, then my sister stepped into HR, and my brother stepped into HR, and I can say my sister is far more better in terms of HR personnel than me, who's younger to me by 2 years, because she looked up to me and to be HR professional. And I got my younger brother. I would call him even more better than me and my sister as a HR professional, because he has seen to his credit his brother and elder sister, and because of which he was able to practice, imbibe a lot of things far more better, and he is, in my opinion, one of the best HR professional. So I can say from my own example how a family can evolve what we are. Family can define how we are, and we can give a lot of good examples. A sportsman shouldn't turn out to be a sportsman. A professional shouldn't turn out to be a professional. I'm not defining it is good, neither I'm saying it's bad. But all I'm trying to say is the possibility of family having influence on a right practice or a right habit is far more better. So I'm here to saying that the family also plays a pivotal role in making it happen. And when we going to correlate attraction with family, imagine same family of Laszlo, where the entire family is filled with chess and its content of chess, because of which the family was able to perform in chess far more better than somebody else. So with this, I go to the third aspect of it, which is make it more easy. Money, I'm in the right direction. Is the flow right? Should
Yes,
I?
yes, you can go ahead. Yes, yes.
Okay.
I do not want to interrupt you, and I want you to finish it so that I can have some questions for you.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I think
doing good, please.
good. So make it easy. So when he speaks of make it easy, he says that when we make it complicated, then it becomes difficult to practice. When he states the chapter, he writes a nice, beautiful phrase. The phrase is like this: walk slowly, but never backward. So you may walk, you need not rush. You may walk slowly, but never backward. It should be only progression in nature. So when I start doing 10 reps, it's good to do 10 reps and continue doing 10 reps, then rather we try and do in the morning 50 reps, and then making 50 become 40, 40 became 30, 30 became 20. So he goes to saying that never do that. He says start with small, make it easy, and continue doing it easy, then to strain yourself and saying I can't do it. So he speaks about beautiful two examples of quality and quantity growth. So a professor by name Jerry, he gives the students an exercise of asking them to capture pictures and give them. He divides the group in two groups. One is team A and team B. Team A, he says, saying that you should give me 100 pictures and I will choose the best picture. And the team of people are working on that. And team B, he tells them very clearly, I need only one picture, and that's the best picture. So when the time came in, and when the results were seen, the team that was told, which had an option to choose 100 pictures and give the best pictures, had performed better than somebody who gave the best of one picture. The reason he says is the team two, which spoke of the quality of the picture, spent so much of time discussing, debating, deliberating, then actually actioning than the other team, which was only see, should. That's the way it is. So here he says, saying that we should look at action more than motion. How he defines action and motion? I fell in love when I read this one, action and motion. So motion is more of planning, strategizing, and thinking, and action means actually delivering. If you see, most of us are only motion oriented. When I say motion oriented, I think saying that, okay, 5 years from now, I like to be an entrepreneur. 5 years from now, I'll build a house. 5 years from now, I like to have a ranch for myself. Now, have a stable, have a firing range. Oh, these are my dreams. This is what I always want to do. So these are only motion. But when I say motion, it's only thinking, strategizing, and then planning. It's not action. What he says is action delivers outcome. Instead of thinking too much, then if I want to take the example of trying to build a ranch for myself, I should look at a place in Chennai, buy a small portion of land to start with. Over a span of time, create a fence around it. Over a span of time, create some trees around it. Over a span of time, bring a pony into that. Over a span of time, create a small firing range into the place. Now, this should be is an action. Then saying that I will plan. I'm not discounting planning is not required. I'm not discounting motion not required. Neither does James Clear not discount the need for a motion. But what he says is motion is important, but action is more important than no motion. So he goes to saying that start making action then only in motion. Though we all enjoy motion, he goes to say look at action then motion. So motion is useful. I'm not discounting it. As I keep saying it again and again, motion is useful, but action is very, very critical. He gives a nice example when he speaks about it, about there are a lot of examples. I'll take one example which is easy to relate about traffic driver in London, about a cab driver. He says, in the brain, there's a particular part of the brain called as hippocampus, which is more on the facing, the spacing of the roads. So he says the London drivers have the hippocampus in their brain far more better than something else. He goes to say when the driver is active, the cab driver is active, is far more alert than he's become retired. So what is he saying? He's saying only when you keep your brain active, when you keep it action oriented, then possibly you'll be able to do it. The minute you keep it dull, the minute you keep it not using that particular part of the brain, possibly you will not be able to get the best out of it. The brain is also like muscles. If you don't use little weight over a span of time, your muscle also become weak and wobbling. So if you start using it only, it becomes enhances. Similarly, is your habits also. If you start repeating again and again and again, only there'll be some kind of action or movement in the right direction of your habits. Then only it may give the right results. So as he rightly started with saying that walk slowly but not backwards. Similarly, when you start with an action or a habit, start progressing in a very small manner. The minute you stop it one day and start saying tomorrow I'll do it, then the second day becomes third day and the fourth day, and you may lose a very good habit. So what he goes to say is it's very, very important that we make it easy, whatever you want to make a habit, and start continuing it rather than starting and stopping off very quickly. So that's what he wants to say it. And the last one was the make it easy. And when he said make it easy, he concludes by saying a nice example, nice phrase, which I'll read for you. every habit is just an obstacle to get what you really wanted. So I repeat again, every habit is just an obstacle to get what you really wanted. So how do I interpret for myself? If I want to enhance my knowledge, I should now stop the obstacle of saying that I will procrastinate to read tomorrow. I will read tomorrow. I will not do it today. I should stop procrastination and start doing it right now. So that's what is very, very critical. So every habit is just an obstacle to get what you really wanted. So my want is to become fit. My habit is I should get up early. I should walk up to the gym. And that's what the habit. So he says the obstacle is getting up the 5 minutes early is what the obstacle is. And to conclude, he speaks about how to avoid procrastination. And here again, he used a very nice example about a fitness freak. So he says that the fitness freak want to be really fit, and he had, as like you and me, had the fear of getting up early in the morning, going to the gym or doing the workout. So he says that he's made only one practice. He said that every morning I'll get up at 5, get down and take a cab. The cab will take me to a gym where I'll spend 2 hours to do the workout. So he was saying, my trouble is not wanting to go to the gym and do the workout. The minute I go to the gym, I start working out. My trouble is only the 5 minutes of me getting up and coming down to the ground floor to catch a cab. So every one of us should evolve our own mechanism to avoid the procrastination. I'll give an example of how I practice or how I try to break the procrastination. As I was sharing, I play shuttle in the mornings, and I've got 2-3 good friends of mine. So they call me 6 in the morning and say, Michael, we're waiting for you. So the minute I get to here, when I want to get up, I feel a little sluggish. I will not do it. I'll do it a little later. But when my friend calls me and says, Michael, waiting for you, I get up and start going to the workout. I'll give one last example and close this with this morning. So this is with this item. I wanted to run marathon. Last year, September, it's a long-term dream for me to run a marathon. When I say marathon, I don't want to run a full marathon, I want to run a half marathon. And because I had a class where I would run a full marathon, so I won't try doing it. So the place where I play shuttle in Chennai, so I got a friend of mine who's a retired policeman. I was just telling him, saying, I would like to run marathon, sir, but I'm not able to practice, I'm not able to do it. And the man whom I was referring to, he's 58 years old. His name is Sudhakar, he's a retired DSP. And he said, he runs every day 16 kilometers. He said, come, I'll take you to make you run. I said, see, I can't run 10 kilometers continuously. He said, no, come with me. And my friends, you trust me. So he take me the first day. He told me only one thing. The minute you start, you shouldn't stop. The minute you stop, you can't run. So he said, you do only 5 rounds, which is 5 kilometers, but only one request, you should not stop. You shouldn't walk. You can even trot, but don't stop your trotting. So he used to come around me. When I want him to slow, he'll drag me and then make me run. And a long story short, I was able to run 10 kilometers last year in September in Chennai for the Chroma marathon. I ran 10 kilometers, and only because I had a friend of mine, who told me, he will make me run. I was also willing to listen to him, and I didn't want to. When he said, "No, I will take the same day," I joined. I didn't say tomorrow, day after tomorrow, day after tomorrow. So I committed, saying that I will do that, and then I said I will take some help, and then did it. So with that, my friends, I would like to close the session. And once again, it's a very good read, and I will see you in more sessions. Thank you so much, Mani, for giving an opportunity. If there are any questions, I'm willing to take the questions. Otherwise, thank you so much.
You're welcome, Michael sir. Michael sir, it's been fantastic. You made the book so easy. And are we going to continue doing this? Yes, it is obvious. And how was the book reading? How was the summary of the book? Very attractive. And you made it easy for us to understand every single details, anecdotes, the concept, ideas, principles, whatnot. I think you are going on a very structured fashion. So I didn't want to either interact with you or cut you short in between to have a question or to share my perspectives, because it was so nice. And without even reading a book in about 40-45 minutes, I have the feeling of reading the entire book. Thank you so much. I never expected this will be so easy for me today to understand and get the concepts into my mind. and you made it so easy for me. Thank you so much. I have a couple of questions for you, but before that,
Sure.
the examples of British cycling, alcohol on the wheel, and the socks, and how you could make small changes, 1 degree change and 1% improvement, and you went ahead and he has mentioned that 37% of changes happens in a year. And as I said, obvious, attractive, easy. And not only the examples from the book, and your examples were so relevant. You mentioned about your family having three HR professionals in your family, and I think that was so obvious and so relatable to what he has mentioned in the family portion of the particular book. What not? Sports, chess, my family, so easy, so relatable. And I think whatever you said lingers in my mind, and it is going to continue to linger in my mind. I'm sure I'm going to establish few more good habits. And not only me, I am also sure that whoever is watching this video are going to have the same feeling and they acknowledge whatever I have told now. And my question to you is, you mentioned about four things: the cue, craving, the what do you call the reward? I mean the routines, and then the reward. So you talked. I mean, you explained more about the good habits. How do we break down the bad habit? And what are these four areas talking about?
Right. So I will take as a bad habit. I'll take myself an example. I love to eat sweets. Uh, I eat a lot of sweets, and I love to eat very good food. And you would know that I am a foodie. So I used to travel a lot. My earlier role allowed me to travel across Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Maharashtra, AP, and Andhra Pradesh, and wherever state which I travel. And now obviously I had an opportunity to have good food with the rest of the choice of places when you do a market visit. So over a span of time, I found it was not very healthy. And what I said for myself is, I will do when I travel, because I can't prevent my travel. But when I travel, I will ensure that I will take only one course of food outside with my fellow colleagues. Now that's a social obligation. But otherwise, I will restrict to my eating at my room itself. And when I eat, I will also make it a practice to call my family or a friend, so that I would have I will speak to them and have my food, so that when I go to Kerala, I have a good friend of mine who was my ex-colleague of mine. I make it a practice that I call him every time I step into Kerala. So what I used to do is, when I go to Kerala, one course of food will be with my fellow colleague and team members of mine, and subsequently, whenever I wanted to, when I go for my food, I go alone, having food, and over the food, I'll call the friend of mine from Kerala and spend a few minutes speaking to him, asking how his life and whatever it is. So similarly, I make it a practice wherever I travel. I made into my mind saying that I would like to avoid eating outside too much, and then restrict my intake, because that's not good for my health. So I just give you a simple example. So if I take simple example, even at home, friend, for the children, saying that now we consume a lot of sweets. I'm not saying it is wrong. I'm not saying it is right. All I'm saying is, if you feel consuming too much sweet is not right, possibly we can ration and say that, okay, every Sunday after the food, we can have a small portion of food, which is sweet, rather than adding sweets every day to food. So I can give one more example. I have a good friend of mine, who takes alcohol. So he does not take alcohol within the city limits. He will say his job allows him to travel so much, so there's an option to have alcohol every day with his friends as a social obligation. So he says that I will take only when I stay away from Chennai. I will not have within Chennai. So by doing that, in a month he may travel only once. In a month he may take only once. So rather than having a social obligation, he says that all his friends know that he will not take within Chennai. So none of his friends ask him, saying that, no, why don't you have a social drink with me? So I can give one more example of a friend of mine who will say, I have got a nice example. I have a very good friend of mine. I'll give one more example, and I'll take it for myself. There's somebody who told me, when I travel, I visit, whenever there's an opportunity, say, a temple or a church or whatever it is. Somebody whom used to work with me tell me, Michael, it's not good to go into a temple after eating non-vegetarian food. So today I tell whomever I meet, I tell them, saying that no, if you're going to look at a temple, I don't think you should eat a non-vegetarian. So because for me, it's a value that I have for my team member of mine who told me, Michael, don't or don't consume non-veg when you go to temple. So that also allows me saying that, so when I travel, when I know I'm going to see a temple, I will not eat non-veg food. So that's also restricted. So like that, create a cue in your mind saying that I will not do that. Like as I told you about a friend of mine who smokes, saying that he will not smoke on a prefix day on his children's birthday, for example. So slowly, it can be the son's birthday, tomorrow can be daughter's birthday, then your wife's birthday, your father's birthday. So in a span of 30 days, you're going to smoke 30 days. So choose those 5 days in your family where you will not smoke. For example, I'm just giving an example. So that's the way you can break your bad practices, in my opinion. I hope you answered
All
my
right. Yeah, very much, very much. Thank you so much. I would like to recognize the presence of few HR leaders. Mr. Soma Sajeevan, he was the head of McDonald's a few years back, and Mr. GD Sharma has also joined the live. And thank you so much, and thanks for your appreciations. They have sent a message on the comment. So yeah, so thank you so much, Michael sir. Another question is, have you developed any good habit during this lockdown? I'm really intrigued to know about it because I think lockdown has provided a lot of time, room for us to develop or enhance our skills or develop a new habit. So, what was that one or two habits that you developed during this lockdown?
Again, I will share fitness as a habit for myself. So I made a practice. I installed an app in my mobile, a fitness app, and I said for myself saying that every day I will had a certain numbers defined to do my workout. So during the lockdown period, I made a practice that I will not skip my workout, ideally. So I benchmark to do 30 days in a month, but again, eventually I will end up doing 22, 21 days. That's something which I made a practice doing it. And whenever I do my workout, as I keep saying, I'm a somebody who's always in the call with my friends. So I make it a practice to every day call a classmate of mine who's in school, or a PG classmate of mine, or a UG classmate of mine. So I made a practice that the 30 days or 40 days, I try to call my friends and speak to them. And eventually, I also started listening to nice audio clips and video clips when I do my workout. So I also was doing the workout and happened to listen to nice speakers, very inspiring conversation I had listened to, which allowed me to read some books. And I had never known, I had known author called Jayagandhan, but I happened to read, listen to somebody, a man called Baba in YouTube, who spoke about, Jayagandhan. When I listened to him, the way he described stories, I enjoyed it and started reading the book of Jayagandhan. I've read 3 books of Jayagandhan. What do you call it? சில நேரங்கள் சில மனிதர்கள். There's one more, Unne Pool, and one book which I read of Jayagandhan, because I happened to got to listen to somebody speaking and got inspired me to read it. So I got 2 things. Then I continued doing a practice of doing workout, and I started reading a little more of books which I've never heard about it earlier.
Sounds very good, and we look forward to hear those summaries as well. And
So,
yeah, this I think this what I was trying to say is the essence of the book that you shared. I thought you will induce me to read further, but then I'm convinced that I don't have to read the book again. Seriously, to tell you the fact, probably I'll be taking some. I've taken the notes, and I don't think I will have to go back and read anything at all because visualization, whatnot. I think you've covered all aspects of the book, and thank you so much for joining us today. And I look forward to host you in the further sessions. Probably we will do it on a weekly basis or fortnightly or monthly, whichever way you are comfortable with. And we will pick a nice book next program. And thank you so much for joining this morning. And have a pleasant weekend. Thank you, Michael.
thank you so much, Moni. I once again thank you so much for an opportunity. And I'll tell you, without you, I have to make a mention of this. Without you pushing me, I don't think it would have been possible. I read, but I have never ever done this. The first time I'm doing this, and I never thought I'd be comfortable doing this. I do not know how good and bad it is going to be. But thank you so much for giving an opportunity, Moni. And it allowed me to read the book once again and recap it. And I'm sure whenever I read the book, there's something else which comes into mind again and again and again. The last thing which I want to say is only one thing. There's a book called Godfather. I've read the book at least 2 dozen times. And I always say this, I have defined my life from the days of I read the book when I was in graduation, Loyola, which is way back 91, 94. And from then to now, I have read the book at least 2 dozen times. And every time I read the book, I get a new perspective to know the way you manage life, the way you manage leadership, the way you manage your friends, or whatever it is. So, like that, why do I bring this over here? Because after I said I'll do this book review, whenever I read the book, there's so much of thing that comes to your mind again and again and again. A lot of new examples. So So thanks for so much. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Mani. I
There
really
is
enjoyed it. Enjoyed it.
there is a comment. There is a comment from Mr. Soma. I'll just reflect it on the screen. He insists that there should be crystal glassware as glass, and chilled water is a must, and great whiskey only. All right, all right. A lot of comments coming up. Thank you so much. I think some people are so glad, so excited about it, and thank you so much for making the day
Thank
very
you, Mani.
wonderful, and
I
so
have to
glad, so
spend
glad.
the time of being around. Thank you, Mani. Thanks,
Yeah,
Mani.
thank you so much to all the participants for being in this session on a Saturday morning. And we will do more such programs in the future. And without your active participation, I'm sure no program is possible. And have a good weekend. Thank you so much from Change Agents Foundation signing off today. Bye bye.